Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're back with another speedrun video, but not exactly how I usually do them. Today, Zwiggo, Plonkerboy900, and myself are going to see how fast we could beat Pokemon Platinum with the Lake Trio. But this isn't any ordinary speedrun video. This is a race to see which of the 3 Lake Spirits will get through the game the fastest using in-game time. By the way guys, sorry if I do sound a little bit tired in this video. I stayed up literally all night redoing this run because OBS decided not to record. Out of the 3 Lake Pokemon, I actually get Azelf, which definitely isn't a bad pick. Azelf has really good attack, special attack, and speed, so honestly this doesn't look like it'd be too hard, but during these solo challenges, you never really know. We also get Nasty Plot pretty early on, so that's gonna be pretty fun. The rules for this one are pretty standard. We're not gonna be able to use any items in battle or held items, and the winner of this race will be the person who completes the game with the lowest in-game time. The other 2 Lake Trio mons are gonna be done on Zwiggo and Plonkerboy900's channel, so after you watch this video, make sure to go check them out if you're interested who could actually beat this game the fastest. And now with this intro out of the way, make sure to subscribe because negative 16% of people are actually subscribed to the channel, and hope you enjoy. So the beginning of Platinum is the same for literally everybody. Barry decides to try to get us to run into some tall grass, but Rowan's here to save us like always, but this time instead of a Chimchar, he's actually offering an Azelf, which I replaced. That way it'd give us the hardest challenge because Empoleon is part steel. If you think about it, Empoleon would probably give Azelf the hardest challenge anyway, considering that Torterra and Infernape would absolutely do nothing to it. As our rival challenges us to a battle, I see my starting set, which is Rest and Confusion, which is actually a really good combo of moves, especially for early game. Rest is really nice because since we're not able to use items in battle, I'm just able to use Rest instead, get all my HP back, and even cure my statuses that I get. If you ask me, that is pretty pog. Once I make it to Rowan's lab, it's time to give Azelf a nickname, and I end up naming it Plonko. It's Plonkerboy and Zwiggo's name put together, and it's really funny because Zwiggo ended up doing the same thing with me and Plonk's name. I don't know whether that makes us both creative or both uncreative, but hey, I'm gonna go with it. We only beat a couple trainers at this point, and next up is our rival once again, but this battle goes exactly how you think it will. I'm not even healed up here, I only have 16 HP, but you see how much damage Confusion does, which is just wild. Starly goes down in only 2 hits, and next out is the Piplup at level 9, and Confusion does a little bit less here, but nothing really to worry about as he hits me with a Growl, and 2 more Confusions is enough to take it out. And the next major battle after this is actually the first gym leader, so let's get a couple more levels and let's see how we do. First up is the rock type gym leader Rourke, who only has really one thing we need to worry about, being his Cranidos that has Pursuit. He leads off with a Geodude at level 12, which gets taken down with 1 critical hit, and he actually ends up sending out the Cranidos next. I end up going for a Confusion here, just doing over half as he hits me with a very strong Pursuit, then gets healed up with a potion, but luckily we're able to take it down in only 2 more hits. Last out is a Onyx at level 12, and I end up going for a Confusion once again, doing a ton of damage as he sets up Stealth Rocks for some reason, and 1 more is enough to take it out. That probably went as good as it could have. Next up is Commander Mars and Valley Windworks, and Commander Mars is actually really scary because Ugly is actually a pretty decent Pokemon, especially early on in the game. I also end up learning Return for this fight because Return is a very strong move, as I actually get a Confusion with Confusion here, and then I end up using Return a couple of times to take it out, and luckily Ugly actually ends up hitting itself, which was necessary to progress. Ugly always causes a lot of issues in these solo runs, and I'm not really sure why it's so strong. Next up is the grass type gym leader Gardenia. Now Gardenia has a pretty decent team, but Azelf's stats are just really good, so that means we should be able to tear through with Confusion. Turtwig goes down in a couple of Confusions. Charm actually gets 1 shot with a critical Confusion, and last up is Rosalia. I end up going for a Confusion once again, doing a ton of damage here as I get hit with a Stun Spore, but 1 more is actually enough to take it out. I mean, we could have potentially lost this fight since we got paralyzed, but no, we didn't get that unlucky. Honestly, this battle with Fantina was absolutely awful, and we actually needed a lot of luck, and we had to spend some time getting a few levels as well. Duskull ends up going for a Shadow Sneak a couple of times, doing some damage, but we're able to take it out with only a couple of Confusions. And next up is Mismagius, which is the Pokemon I had the most trouble with. I end up living on literally 1 HP here as I go for Confusion, and I actually get the Confusion, and it hits itself. Mismagius actually ends up hitting itself again and ends up knocking itself out, which was super nice because once again we have 1 HP. And last up is Haunter, which is just an easy 1-shot with Confusion. I know this looked like the battle was pretty easy, but you have to understand I needed to play until I got a roll with the Confusion, and then Mismagius had to hit itself twice in Confusion. Now I could have leveled up some more, but once again this is a race, so I really didn't want to do that. I actually end up running into our rival once again, and he challenges us to a battle, and he has a new theory. If I can't hit him, he can't lose, which I guess is true, but we're able to two-shot his Staravia with confusion, which is just hilarious. Next up is Ponita at level 23, and I'm pretty sure I'm able to one-shot this thing, but it actually ends up hanging on with just a little bit of HP left. As it goes for a tail whip, I take it out with one more confusion. And next up is Piplup at level 27, which is kind of scary, but once I see how little Bubble Beam did, I'm not really worried too much anymore. As he's left with just a sliver of HP, I do end up taking him out with one more confusion. Next out is Rosalia at level 23. Now honestly, I'm not sure why this thing outsped me, but it did and hit me with a Mega Drain, but I live with plenty of HP and I'm able to one-shot it with confusion to beat our rival once again. Hey, just like in real life, Zwiggo, you can't beat me. I'm kidding, Zwiggo, I love you. Next up is the fighting type gym leader Maylene. Now Maylene, obviously, like I said, is a fighting type gym leader and we are psychic type, so this one shouldn't be too hard. I'm just short of taking out Meta-type with a confusion as it hits me with a rock tomb, lowering my speed, but I'm able to take it down with one more hit. And next out is a Machoke, who actually gets one shot with confusion. And last up is the Lucario at level 32. Lucario's Metaclaw does an okay amount of damage, but my confusion does just about the same amount, and I luckily do get a nice confusion here with confusion, and he actually ends up hitting himself, and I end up winning with luck, basically, because I was gonna lose there 100%. So in-game time right now is about 4 hours, so we're actually doing pretty good, I think, but it would be a shame if I decided to go get food and I left this game running in the background the entire time on speed up, wouldn't it? I'm watching this in post and it hurts my soul so much. Right before I go into the next gym, I actually had to fight our rival Zwiggo once again, and he leads off with a Staravia at level 34 who almost gets one shot with confusion here as I end up taking it out with one more. Next out is Ponita, and I'm obviously not really too worried about a Ponita as confusion ends up doing a lot of damage, and I two-shot this thing as well. And next up is Piplup, which I kind of have an issue with because confusion actually isn't a two-shot and Bubble Beam does too much damage for my liking, but luckily he doesn't get a critical hit, so we're able to take him out. Last but not least is Rosalia. Now that I think about it, he actually is least because he gets one shot with a confusion. So far the rival battles haven't been too bad, but eventually that Piplup's going to evolve and I'm going to absolutely hate it. And eventually I do end up getting to Wake. Now Wake actually has some pretty good coverage dark moves, which Azelf really does not like to get hit with. This battle actually took a ton of attempts because in order to win I needed to get super lucky, and eventually if you play enough that's exactly what happens. I only have 12 HP after 2 bites. I get a lucky critical hit with confusion and then I take Gyarados out even though it get healed up, and Floatzel actually comes out next and I go for confusion and then I get a confusion and then he actually ends up hitting himself in confusion and then I take him out with the confusion. And now that the Floatzel is taken care of, I'm able to use Rest on Quagsire, getting all my HP back. It's the first time I actually used Rest in a very long time because Quagsire actually can't do too much damage to me besides what he could do with Rock Tomb, which as you can see is not very much. It takes a little bit for Azelf to wake up, but once I do, I actually get a critical hit with confusion, which is a pretty fitting way to end this battle. While I was hitting on Cynthia's grandmother, Cyrus actually comes in and challenges us to a battle, which of course I have to accept. Now at this point Cyrus's Pokemon honestly isn't too bad. He does have a Sneasel, which is a dark type, so we can only hit it with Return, but luckily Return is a one-shot. And next out is a Murkrow, which we could also hit with Return for a juicy one-shot. Last out is Golbat, and I obviously think this is going to be an easy one-shot with confusion, but he ends up living with literally 1 HP, gets a critical hit with Bite, and then he gets healed up with a Hyper Potion, but then we return with our own crit to take him out. Overall, definitely not a bad battle at all. Next up is our rival in Canalave, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below how to pronounce this, because I hear everyone pronounce it different. I end up taking down the Staraptor with 1 critical confusion, and next up is the Heracross, and I also get a critical confusion on Heracross as well, which was super nice. Next out is Rapidash at level 35, and I end up going for a confusion, doing just over half, and he actually ends up missing a takedown, which is pretty crazy considering how lucky we've gotten so far. As Rapidash goes down, I did set up a Future Sight a couple of turns ago, and this turn it should be able to hit Empoleon, and once it actually does, it does a ton of damage, and we're able to take it down with only 1 more confusion, which was actually a critical hit. And of course, like always, last out is the Rosaria at level 35, who gets one shot with a confusion. This rival battle is getting harder and harder, especially since that Empoleon just resists everything we have. I mean, he's part Steel type, so that's super annoying. Oh, speaking of a Steel type, the next gym is Byron, the Iron type gym leader. Get it? Because Steel. Yeah, okay, never mind. Now at this point, I honestly should have went back and found some better TMs. That way I could have got through this gym a lot easier, but I'm stubborn. I got Nasty Plot and I just decided to set up on him instead. Now honestly, I thought this would be a lot easier, but even with a ton of Nasty Plots set up, it still was a pain to deal with. I actually ended up setting up 3 Nasty Plots. That means my special attack is now at +6, which is absolutely ridiculous as I'm able to one-shot the Magneton. I know I still have Rest and Nastydon is out next, so I just go ahead and use Rest to get all my HP back. Now normally normally here anybody, if they had a brain, would just spam Stone Edge to kill Azelf here, but for some reason Bastiodon ends up going for a couple of iron defenses, and we're able to wake up and hit him with confusion, doing a ton of damage. He realizes this is a mistake and hits me with another Stone Edge, but it's too late as we're able to use another confusion to take him out, and last up is a Steelix at level 38. Now we almost have 10 levels on this thing, so we're able to one-shot it with a +6 confusion, and just like that we got Byron's gym badge. Honestly, this was probably one of the hardest gyms, just because I was honestly too stubborn to go get some better moves, but overall I think this was a very funny way to win with confusion and nasty plot. So now once you actually get Byron's gym badge, you do have to deal with a lot of story stuff, and it does take a very long time to do. So we have to deal with Team Galactic now, and he actually ends up sending out a Bronzor, which I hate so much because steel types are honestly just a pain. Honestly, I should have got a coverage move a long time ago. I just end up trying to beat this thing down with return, and we only have 28 HP left of this thing, so I just end up going for a rest here, unfortunately, and it is going to take me a while as my speed gets lowered as I decide to get max sleep turns because I'm just that unlucky this time around, and Bronzor finally goes down. And last up is Toxicroak at level 40, and I end up going for a confusion here. I still somehow outsped it, so that was pretty funny. That shows you how good Azelf's speed stat really is. Once Commander Saturn is taken care of, we have to go take on Commander Mars, and she leads off with a Golbat at level 38 who is never really an issue, but of course she does have that Perugly up next, and Perugly is so strong. I end up getting hit with Fake Out, doing a little bit of damage, and then I use Confusion, and it does just over half as it gets healed up with a Berry, but then connects with Hypnosis. Of course it hits Hypnosis. I've never hit Hypnosis ever. Luckily, Azelf is able to take a couple of feint attacks, and then we're able to take it out with one more Confusion, and last up is a, oh my gosh, it's a Bronzor. Of course it's a Bronzor. Dude, I hate this person so much. As you can see, Confusion does next to nothing as I almost die here, so I have to end up going for a rest to get my HP back, but of course, as I'm asleep, this Bronzor just continues to, oh, it has Confuse Rate. Oh my gosh. That took literally forever to beat Bronzor, but overall, it wasn't a too bad battle considering that we did have rest. Now that we defeated Mars, we actually get to go to my favorite part of the game, which is the snowy part. Now, as a kid, I honestly just loved this game so much, and I thought the snowy part was so cool. I finally arrive at Candace's gym, and don't ask me how long it took me to get through her puzzle, but eventually I get through it, and she leads off with a Sneasel at level 40. I end up going for a return here, and luckily it is a nice one-shot. As I get to level 51, I actually try to learn a new move, which is Extra Sensory, which is actually a lot better than Confusion. It's 80, and it also has a chance to flinch, which is really good. Next out is a Frostlass. Now, Frostlass can be scary because its moveset is absolutely wild, but luckily I do get a nice critical hit to take it out in only one hit, and next out is Obama Snow. Now, Obama Snow... Obama Snow, sorry. It ends up going for Woodhammer here, actually doing a really good amount of damage as I do get buffed by the hail. I end up going for an Extra Sentry here, and luckily it is enough to one-shot, and last up is a beautiful Piloswine at level 40, so I end up going for another Extra Sentry here to take it out in only one hit. And that is the 7th gym badge down. Now, after the 7th gym badge, the story stuff really ramps up. We have to do a lot of Mount Cornet, Giratina stuff after this, so... yeah, it's gonna be a while before we actually get to the 8th gym leader. Next up is Cyrus once again, and this time around he is a lot stronger. He leads off with a Sneasel, which I obviously cannot hit with my Psychic type move, so I end up going for a return, and he's left with just a sliver of HP as he hits me with a Ice Punch and then gets healed up, but I take him down with a couple more returns. Next out is Honchkrow, and since we have return, it's actually not that big of an issue. We're able to hit it, and it does about 3/4 of its HP as it heals up with a Citrus Berry, then hits me with a Feint attack, and I'm left with only 3 HP left. Honchkrow goes down to one more return, and last up is a Crobat at level 44, which I hit with a super effective Extra Sentry to take it out. So this was a pretty close battle, and if you played this game before, you know that there is another Cyrus battle that comes up relatively soon, so I wonder how we're gonna do on that one. Once we beat Cyrus, next up is Saturn, and Saturn leads off with a level 42 Golbat, so I end up going for an Extra Sentry here, and it actually does do a one-hit KO, but Golbat's never the issue. It's the Bronzor that comes after at level 42, and I really don't have a good answer to get through this, so I end up going for a Nasty Plot a few times to get through it easier. Of course, this thing has Confuse Ray, which is super annoying, but luckily I actually don't end up hitting myself in Confusion. As I actually make Bronzor flinch, I'm able to take it down with one more. Last but not least is a Toxicroak at level 44. Now, this thing is super strong. Unfortunately, I do end up hitting myself, and I get hit with an Exozor, but I don't hit myself in Confusion, luckily, and I'm able to one-shot it with an Extra Sentry. And now that Saturn's taken care of, we could free the three... Wait, Azelf is right there, but he's in my... What is this witchcraft? Wait, what? The battle with Cyrus in the Distortion World was absolutely terrible, and I only won because I reset literally probably around 300 times to get this lucky. I honestly, with this crappy moveset, probably needed to be at least 10 levels higher than I actually am right now, and I have Shadow Ball now instead of Return, so yeah, that's not the best move on my part. For some reason, Houndoom went for Will-O-Wisp 3 times in a row and actually ended up missing all 3 times, which is just hilarious. I was only aiming for 2, but 3 happened, and I was pretty happy about it because Weavile actually ends up connecting with a Night Slash. I'm then able to take it down with a couple of Shadow Balls, and since all his Dark types are gone, this battle is extremely easy now. We're able to use Extra Sentry on the Crobat, and since we are at +6 special attack, we're able to one-shot the Gyarados as well. Overall, this Cyrus battle always causes me a lot of issues. I recommend if you actually want to do this run for yourself for some reason to try to beat my time, then definitely bring an electric type move because that would help so much. We then have the epically battle Giratina, who's extremely strong. There's just nothing we could do to win. He's just way too powerful and there's no way to progress. Oh no, what are we gonna do? And finally, we arrive at the 8th and final gym leader, Volkner. He uses electric type, so this one shouldn't be too difficult compared to the steel gym at least. He leads off with a Jolteon at level 46, so I just end up going for a nasty plot here. Now he does paralyze me, which is super annoying, then I get fully paralyzed, and at this point I'm just deciding to set up all my nasty plots, and then I'm gonna go for a rest. Now this strategy is kinda cheesy, but hey, I'm trying to win. We actually need all the speed we can because his Raichu has Signal Beam for some reason, which is super effective and actually can do a lot of damage to Azelf, so we do have to be careful about that, and that's why I went for rest to begin with. Once I wake up, I'm able to use Extra Sentry on Jolteon for the obvious one-shot, and since I am at +6 special attack again, and we do outspeed Raichu, we're able to one-shot that thing as well, and I don't think there's anything on his team that could take this absolute beast of a monster that Azelf is at +6. Last up is an Electivire at level 50, which is probably his bulkiest thing that he has, but once again, a +6 Extra Sentry is just too much for almost any Pokemon to handle, and he ends up going down, and we get the 8th and final gym badge. So watching this in post, I went to go get food once again, and yeah, apparently I just left this game running on speed up, so I wonder how our time's gonna be. I'm so sorry, Zwiggo. And hey, for the 2nd time, I finally make it out of Victory Road and into the Pokemon League. At this level, I don't know how we're really gonna do, but I guess we're gonna find out. And nope, would you look at that. Zwiggo, of course, coming in for one final shot to try to beat me. Zwiggo leads off with a Staraptor at level 48, and I end up going for a nasty plot because I know he has a Snorlax and that thing is super bulky, but he actually went for U-turn here, which is kind of surprising, so I just end up going for an Extra Sentry here to take down the Heracross because that thing does not outspeed me whatsoever, and the Staraptor's back out, so we go for another Extra Sentry to take that thing out as well. Next out is Rosalia. Now this thing obviously is going to go down to a +2 Extra Sentry. And now next up is a Snorlax. Now this thing's super bulky and I knew this wasn't one shot, but it actually did do a ton of damage and it actually ends up making him flinch, so we take him out with one more. Next out is Empoleon, and I end up going for a Shadow Ball here, and this thing actually has Shadow Claw, which is very surprising as it does a pretty good amount of damage, but I take him out with an Extra Sentry next turn. And last up is a Rapidash at level 47. Of course, this thing does not outspeed me, and I'm able to go for an Extra Sentry to take down the Rapidash, and for the final time, we ended up defeating our rival Zwiggo, and now it's actually time for the Elite Four. First up is Elite Four member Aaron, and he specializes in Bug-type Pokemon, so honestly, I'm thinking that this one should be the hardest challenge for us Elite Four-wise, not Champion-wise. I set up another nasty plot as he actually ends up going for another double team. Now at this point, I'm kind of scared because he does outspeed me, but he just ends up going for another double team again, and we actually end up connecting with Extra Sentry to take him out. Next out is Scizor. Now normally Scizor would be a huge issue, but since we did set up all those nasty plots, we are able to one-shot it with Extra Sentry. And next out is Vespiquen at level 50, so I go for another Extra Sentry for a one-shot. And next out is a Drapion, and I accidentally go for Extra Sentry here instead of Shadow Ball. He hits me with an Scizor, doing a pretty good amount of damage, but Shadow Ball does just almost one-shots him actually. As we take another Scizor, we take him down with one more Shadow Ball, and last but not least is his Heracross, which I know we outspeed, and we are able to one-shot with a Extra Sentry. And that was actually my first attempt, so if I'm able to beat Aaron, which theoretically should be the hardest Elite Four member, I'm pretty sure the rest of this is going to be really easy. Next up is Elite Four member Bertha, and honestly she uses ground types, so this shouldn't be too hard at all as long as we get our nasty plot set up. Whiscash ends up going for Sandstorm, and I set up my nasty plot, and then I go for another nasty plot as he goes for an Aqua Tail here. Now we are at +4 special attack, so I just decided to go for an Extra Sentry to take out the Whiscash and only one hit. Next out is Hippowdon. Now I know Hippowdon is extremely bulky, so I'm not too too sure if this is actually gonna one-shot, but once I use it, it actually ends up being a one-shot, which is super nice for me because my HP is not looking so good. Next out is the absolute beast Rhyperior, but luckily we are able to one-shot to take it out. I'm pretty sure Bertha's pretty upset about that because once Rhyperior goes down, there's absolutely nothing else on her team that could withstand a +4 extra sensory. Last up is Gliscor, who's weak to it, so yeah, there's absolutely no shot, and just like that, we defeat the second Elite Four member on our first try as well. Azelf might be actually broken. Next up is Flint, and I'm not going to lie, Flint was an absolute pain just because he led off with a Houndoom. The one mon I did not want him to lead off with that he always leads off with, and it's a dark type, and we really can't do too much damage to dark type, so we have to learn Charge Beam. Charge Beam only has 90% accuracy, but if it hits, it raises your special attack by 1, so it's definitely not too bad of a move at all, especially if I set up a nasty plot with it. But once we actually got past Houndour and we were able to use Charge Beam, we are able to sweep through his entire team. We absolutely outspeed everything on his team, so he doesn't have a chance to hit us even though we're only at 74 HP, and even Magmortar goes down to an extra sensory. But finally we have an electric type move, and finally we end up beating Flint. Now this one did take me a few attempts to do, but overall it wasn't too bad. Next up is the Elite Four member Lucian. Now honestly, he is a really good trainer and he has some really good Pokemon, but we have Nasty Plot and we also have Shadow Ball, so I only literally set up one Nasty Plot and then I just spam Shadow Ball, and as you can see, it works out pretty well. By the way guys, we are almost 21 minutes into this video and you're still here and you're obviously still watching this part, so if you're actually enjoying and you're not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and I don't upload as much as I should, but I promise when I do, it is quality stuff. Also, your feedback would be really appreciated in the comments below, positive or negative. Any feedback is good feedback as long as it's constructive, you know. Anyway, now that the slaughter is over using Shadow Ball, let's go ahead and get into the champion battle and see how we do. And long story short, I can't even get past Spiritomb. Yeah, extra sensory doesn't affect it, and its Shadow Ball does over half. So, yeah, we gotta go grind. Fantastic. That means I have to go through the entire Elite Four again. But don't worry guys, I'll cut that part out for you. We can just watch the champion battle. I get to Cynthia at level 74, which took a very long time to actually get up to because Azelf grinds so slow, man. It was awful. But anyway, we get a nasty plot off and we're actually able to one-shot a Spiritomb now, which is really nice. Lucario's out next and I end up taking that thing out with an extra sensory. For some reason, he didn't go for extreme speed, but I'm definitely not complaining, and we're actually able to one-shot the Garchomp. Next up is Melodic, and this thing killed me with a Mirror Coat last time, so I just end up setting up a nasty plot, and then I go for an extra sensory to take it out in one hit. And now with Melodic out of the way, there's 2 Pokemon left, and one is Togekiss at level 60. I end up taking that thing down with an extra sensory, and last up is the Rosalia at level 58, who goes down to 1 extra sensory, and finally, for the second time, I end up beating this stupid game with Azelf once again. But how fast did I do it? That's the question. Hey, let's see how fast. 17 hours. Okay, listen, that's probably super fast compared to Zwiggo and Plonkerboy. Let's be honest. What? Yeah, let's not mention this. For real though, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Like always, if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like. And if you disliked it, bro, press the dislike button and let me know how I can improve down in the comments below. I appreciate you guys like always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Sorry for this being a day late, but hey. Oh man, this game, I'm telling you guys. Hope you enjoyed like always, guys, and I'll see you next time.